Hi guys, Adriaan here from Luxurytime. It's nearly the end of the year. This is probably going to be my last video of the year, and it's a pretty exciting topic. It's either going to make sense to some of you guys or it's not going to make sense at all. For me, it makes a little bit of sense, but I might be completely out with my estimations that I'm going to give you guys. So recently, Patek Philippe with Tiffany and actually LVMH, they launched the Patek Philippe 5711 Tiffany blue dial. So there was only 170 of those watches made, and what I've read are only going to go to the Tiffany store in New York. So when that watch just came out, I got a lot of messages on Instagram, and there was a lot of talk about it in the news about this about this new watch that is coming out, the last of the last Patek Philippe 5711s, and everyone was speculating on the price and think what are these watches going to sell for. If you take in consideration the normal blue dial sells for, or the blue, olive and white dials, they sell for around about an average price of 3 million rand on the grey market, whereas their retail prices were around about 500,000 when they just came out. So everyone was predicting what that watch was going to sell for. My first initial predictions was the day it came out, I thought it was immediately going to hit the grey market at a price of around about $1 million US, which is around about 16 million rand. People were saying, no, it's crazy, it won't go there. I think the very next day, the first one sold. I'm not sure if it was on an auction, but somewhere it sold and the price was published. It sold for $2 million, which is around about 30 to 32 million rand. So that was already crazy, and people were going mad, and no one can really understand how this 5711 Tiffany can actually sell for 30 million rand. But that was not the end. After those prices came out, everyone was stunned and they couldn't believe what it was selling for. Then Philip's auction house, Patek Philippe, actually gave them one of the watches to put on auction. I would think that was probably to try and set the market price of the watch. The watch sold after auction fees for a whopping 6.5 million US, which is around about, it's over 100 million rand, South African rands, which is absolutely crazy. It's mad. If you'd ask me if it is worth that money, I'd say definitely. There's no fucking way I will pay 100 million rand for a stainless steel 5711 Tiffany dial. But I'm gonna work it down for you just to show you that that price can actually be realized, or it's not too crazy if you have to think there's only 170 of those watches made. The only thing I found a little bit weird about that watch, or the 170th year, why do they celebrate a 170 year? Why don't they celebrate a 200 year or 150 year or 175 year? Why did they decide on celebrating 170 years? That's just a bit gimmicky for me, but I suppose there is probably a deeper meaning to the 170 years that there is. So how I calculated the prices that I'm going to show you now, it's just everything that I'm saying here is totally my estimate and what I'm guessing in the market. I do not have any idea how many watches Patek Philippe makes, or everyone knows they make, you can Google it, they make 60,000 watches a year, but they do not tell you where the watches are allocated to what models. They have 140 different models throughout their range that they sell, but they don't tell you they make 1,000 5711s or 1,000 Aquanauts, or how they are split up in the ranges. So what I'm going to show you now, it's all just my guesstimates. Okay, so the 5711, the reference 5711, was relaunched in 2006 after the 3700 and then the 3711. So in 2006, the new reference 5711 came out, and it came out with a blue dial. There's now a white dial and a olive dial. Okay, so we all know Patek Philippe makes round about an estimate 60,000 watches a year. So I would estimate that they would probably produce round about 20% of those 60,000 watches a year would go to the Nautilus range, because that is considered the entry-level steel watch. So if they had to make 10,000 watches a year, specifically 5711, that would equal to round about 150,000 5711 watches in the market today, starting from 2006 up until 2021. Those 150,000 watches, roughly combined together, if you have to take the olive dial, which is selling at 10 million or 8 to 10 million rand a watch, where the blue one sells at an average price of probably 2.5 to 3 million. The white dial a little bit less, round about the 2.2, 2.5 million. If you had to combine those, let's just work on an estimate. The average price of the 5711 today is 3 million rand. So there's 150,000 of those floating in the market. Now take 3 million times 150,000, you get to a crazier amount, I think of 450 billion rands worth of 5711 watches in the market. Then going to the Tiffany. The Tiffany, there's only 170 watches in the market. 5711 steel, the normal one, 150,000. The 5711 Tiffany, 170. That makes the Tiffany 0.1% of the available 5711s in the market. If, that's just what I'm saying, if there is 150,000 watches in the market. So 99.9% of the 5711 watches in the market are the normal ones. The 0.1% is the 170 Tiffany models that are in the market. Okay, so if you have to take it that there is, my estimate, 150,000 5711 watches in the market, and you had to times that by 3 million, you get to the crazy figure of 450 billion or somewhere around there. So the total value of the 5711 watches in the market combined, let's say all the Tiffany's are going to sell at 100 million each. So the total value of the 5711 watches in the market, around about 97% of it is made up by the 150,000 steel models, whereas the other 3% is made up by only 170 Tiffany models, which is, it's a crazy figure if you think 150,000 takes 97%, only 170 watches takes 3%. Okay, so now how I worked it out, can that 100 million price be justified? I would say yes, it does make sense to some degree, whereas the 5711 currently trading at 3 million rand across the board, that price has jumped from its original retail, which was around about 500,000 rand, it's jumped 6,000% in value. Whereas the 5711 Tiffany, the retail price of that watch was around about 850,000 rand. That one has increased 12,000% in value. So take into account the amount of 5711s going on my figures. I say there's around about 150,000 pieces in the market, which have grown, those watches have grown 6,000%. There's only 170 Tiffany's in the market, and they have grown 12,000%. So the 100 million price, it is crazy, it is insane for a steel watch. For a steel watch that is basically only has a different dial and a case back that is decorated a bit. So the actual watch that you're getting, it's not worth it, definitely not worth it. It's not worth 100. The collectability of it is totally worth it. I can see that watch will probably still climb over the years. The watch market is so crazy at the moment. People are paying ridiculous prices for watches. If it carries on at these trends, I mean, that watch will probably, if they do not surface a lot on the grey market, which they probably 70 of those watches, around about 70 or 100 will go to actual clients. The rest will filter their way through to the grey market. But if they can keep control of those watches and they don't get sold on the grey market, I can't see how those watches can't double in value. That watch can possibly sell in 2-3 years time for 200 million rand. It sounds ridiculous now to me also, I can't really fathom it, but doing the math and seeing the scarcity of that Tiffany compared to the other 5711s in the market, to some degree it does make sense. Do I like the watch? I like it. I wore my blue shirt today, but I still don't think, it still blows my mind. So I can't say yes, it's a good buy, or no, it's not a good buy. But what Patek has shown over the years and how their prices have gone up and how the current watch market is going, I think that 100 million price, it was as crazy as it sounds. I do not think it was that crazy. I think there is still room for that watch to grow even more. Even double is easily possible with it. Thanks guys, I hope you liked this video. Again, these figures that I gave, it's purely my estimates of, I do not know how many watches Patek Philippe or how many 5711s they produced. Maybe they only did 3,000 watches a year, because those watches are very difficult to get. I mean, the waiting list on a normal 5711 was, before they discontinued it this year, people were waiting 5 to 8 years for the watch, and they still, even a lot of guys didn't get them. So these figures I gave you are purely my guess, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you can make sense to some sort of a degree and agree with me. Thanks guys, Merry Christmas to you all. Thanks for supporting me and my whole team here at Luxurytime throughout the year. I really appreciate it. So Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Cheers.